One couple's nightmare underscores the medical and emotional costs of overturning Roe v. Wade.
We were over the moon, excited to be pregnant and expecting our first child.
Amanda Zurawski and her husband underwent a 1.5 years of fertility treatments to conceive, but at 17 weeks and 6 days pregnant, Zurawski rushed to the hospital after telling her husband she felt like her body was opening up.
I had a condition called cervical insufficiency or incompetent cervix, and essentially what that means is that I was dilating prematurely, and shortly after that evening, my water broke and I lost all of my amniotic fluid and my membranes were hemorrhaging.
The couple had just finished the invitation list for their baby shower.
So I was living in the grief and despair of knowing that I was going to lose the baby, but then I had the added complication and the added layer of fear because I didn't know what was going to happen.
She says she went for medical care 3 times, but healthcare workers told her there was little they could do in Texas after the repeal of Roe v. Wade.
They said they couldn't provide an abortion because my life wasn't considered at risk, and the law in Texas only allows an abortion if the mother's life is at risk or because the baby's heart was beating. And so until her heart stopped beating or until I got sick enough that I was dying, they couldn't do anything.
After enduring the labor and delivery of her stillborn daughter, Zurawski's vitals crashed and she was placed in the intensive care unit for 3 days. She survived, but the ordeal may have compromised her ability to have a baby.
We don't know that I'll even be able to be pregnant again because the sepsis caused so much scarring in my uterus that it had to be surgically removed. One of my fallopian tubes is permanently closed because again, from the scarring that they couldn't clear.
Zurawski is one of 15 plaintiffs now suing Texas, saying its abortion laws endanger the lives of pregnant people who face medical emergencies.
So you can imagine the terror and fear that I have of getting pregnant in Texas again until something changes.
Texas was the first state to enact severe abortion limits after the U.S. Supreme Court issued a reversal that invalidated the 1973 landmark Roe v. Wade decision. Its new restrictions do not allow exemptions for pregnancies caused by sexual assault or incest.
The PTSD and the depression that I have dealt with in the 8 months since this happened to me is paralyzing. On top of that, I'm still struggling to have children.
Zurawski shared her story before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, the Republican senators from Texas who represent Zurawski, both left the committee room when she began testifying.
I wanted to address my senators, Cruz and Cornyn, who neither of whom regrettably are in the room right now, but I would like for them to know that what happened to me, I think most people in this room would agree, was horrific. But it's a direct result of the policies that they support. I nearly died on their watch. And furthermore, as a result of what happened to me, I may have been robbed of the opportunity to have children in the future.
Look at what it's doing. Look at the impact it's having on women, and they don't seem to care. They can't even be bothered to stick around in a room to listen to me tell my story.
Zurawski says anti-choice lawmakers fail to address women in her situation.
But they also seem to be having trouble, in my opinion, coming up with an argument for women like me that don't fit into the mold that they want us to fit into. And so they just ignore it altogether.
Since the reversal of Roe v. Wade, there are 14 states, including Texas, that ban abortions. According to the Center for Reproductive Rights and the Brennan Center for Justice, 40 lawsuits have been filed challenging state prohibitions.
The implications that these laws are having are a lot more widespread and harmful than I think they initially realized.
Zurawski says she plans to be a support for other people in her situation and will continue to speak up.
And I will keep advocating. As long as there's a fight to be had, I'm going to keep fighting.
This is Inside Edition Digital.